Bitcoiners, good morning, P-Man. Hope you're doing well. I'm up. Coffee's on. It is Moscow time. We're doing great. We got some Moscow time coming up. I got a few Moscow time entries today. They're excellent. But let's just acknowledge first that we got a sunrise and a Bitcoin running. Right? So there's really nothing wrong in the world today. Let's just have some coffee and talk about some new stuff, right? All right. Well, thanks for coming, everyone. As you know, we like to start our mornings off with the fakest news we can find. What's the fakest news out there today? What's it going to be? I'm always interested when I go and look for it in the mornings. That's one of the first things I do is I go and look for the fakest news. So, of course, I go on CNN and I go on all these different places, right? CNN's always good. The Hill, pretty good. They're warning us that incandescent light bulb ban will go into effect next week. So if you're out there trying to buy new light bulbs, forget it. You got to buy the other ones. All right. Just so you know. This is a good one from the Daily Mail. This was sent to us by a Breakup daily listener. So they let us know that if you hate the smell of BO, you might be xenophobic. All right. So bizarre study finds that people who are sensitive to disgusting smells are more likely to have negative attitudes towards migrants. So if BO bothers you, you're a racist, right? What's that saying about what? Oh, we don't ask questions in Moscow time. We don't ask questions, right? The New York Post is telling us that if you're out there ordering food in New York City, you got to be careful. So it's not just the plastic straws. Remember when Trump said that? They said, "Oh, you're crazy," right? Trump said, "What about the, when they said the plastic straws were being moved to those terrible paper straws?" I disrespect paper straws, by the way. When I go in and someone offers me a paper straw, I'll change my order. I can't drink an iced coffee or an iced latte with a paper straw. It's ridiculous. It ruins it, right? I got to get a hot coffee right away. The seed oil disrespecters, right? It's not just enough to say, actually, I don't eat seed oil. I disrespect it. You eat garbage, you eat dog food, right? So that's what you got to do. I do the same with the straws. I'm a paper straw disrespecter. But it looks like it's going to get worse. They're going to follow Trump's predictions. What about the remember when he said, what about the forks? What about the knives? What about all this stuff? So it turns out that New York City, this is according to New York Post, New York City to begin banning ketchup, napkins, and all takeout orders. All right. So no more ketchup, no more napkins, right? P-Man Van. Yeah, I think that's what's happening, P-Man Van. I'm pretty sure that's what's happening. Who is there? That's what I'm saying. We're not going to ask questions. We don't ask questions in Moscow time. We just give you the straight news, right? We're not here to add comment, guys. This is straight news, straight reporting, right? Bizarre. I'll read it again. It's the hating the smell of the BO that makes you xenophobic. Okay. But here they are definitely reading into it that you hate migrants because they don't make the connection in the headline, but they don't say it out loud, right? Sounds like it's on their mind, though. Sounds like it's on their mind. All right. Okay. I swear to God, these two headlines are not related. All right. They're not related. So if you try and find a relation between them, that's on you. That's on you. It's not me. It's not me. I'm just going to read the two headlines, and it's up to you to tell me if they're related or not, or come up to your own conclusions, but we'll see. No, ketchup is not racist. You missed it. Ketchup is not racist. No. It's gonna boil the oceans. That's the problem with the ketchup. Okay, the ketchup is another one of the global warming things. That's another problem. The racism is a separate problem. All right. But they all come together on these two headlines. Here we go. California's war on math. The new California mathematics framework promises to minimize racial inequity at the expense of mathematical excellence and the promise of the golden state. So that's California, right? So math, super racist, gotta change it. What are they giving about barbecue sauce? Let me finish. What about barbecue sauce? Racist? No. Sorry. Ocean boiler. All right. So California's war on math. All right. So math, super racist, better ways to get to mathematical excellence, minimize racial inequity. All right. So the Associated Press is telling us this morning that San Francisco in California has opened a complaint and launched an investigation of a giant X. This is from the Associated Press, all right? San Francisco has opened a complaint and launched an investigation of a giant X sign that cropped up on top of the downtown headquarters of the social media platform formerly known as Twitter. So there's confusion, it seems, about the meaning of X in California. They cannot solve for X. There's no solving for X right now in San Francisco. They don't know what's going on. The top of the Twitter building, formerly known as Twitter, now has an X on the top. So, you know, they got some problems in San Francisco. Some people say, I haven't been in a long time, right? Some people tell me it's a shithole these days. But according to the AP News, right, California changing math, right? Now, what about X? Where did it come from? Investigation. So San Francisco going to investigate a complaint and an investigation into the sign, right? The actual headline is X logo installed atop Twitter building, spurring San Francisco to investigate permit violation. There we go. It's happening. It's happening. All right. Now, if any of you live in Tennessee or Nashville, The Atlantic has a question for you. All right. So I got this one from The Atlantic. Right. So if any of you were, Bitcoin 2024 headed to Nashville, Tennessee, we're billing it as the Freedom State. Well, I think we might have some trouble here. According to The Atlantic, they're asking the question in the headline today, is Tennessee a democracy? Let's see what they say. This is the Republican Party, the party that controls pretty much everything in Tennessee. They are going to win the next election and probably the one after that. Yet they sound as if winning isn't enough. So they go in to say in the article in The Atlantic, asking the big questions of our time, is Tennessee a democracy? We don't know. We don't know. Other things we don't know, right? This is an old headline, but it's going to be related to what's going on today. This is our last, I think. No, I have two. No, it's a deep Moscow time day today. Let me do this one first, and then we'll go into the other one. So this is from Time Magazine, right? Time Magazine. Nobel Peace Prize laureates urge allies to help Ukraine win fast. Well, it's a big time peace. At least there'll be peace if they win fast, right? So the Peace Prize goes to people who are really just like, get those cluster bombs going, right? Let's get the cluster bombs in the game. So that's just one person's opinion, but I guess you can win a Nobel Peace Prize for that. Why not, right? Win fast. All right, these two are related, and one comes from a year and a bit ago, April 19th, 2022. And this is the headline. It's related to today's Moscow time, so I'll read them both. All right, so this is an actual headline from 2022. What happens to weapons sent to Ukraine? The U.S. doesn't really know. We don't know. I don't know. So that was a previous Moscow time. Let's get the update. Senate Democrats block oversight office to monitor U.S. aid for Ukraine. That's it. Just that's the headline. We don't need to know. We didn't know in 2022, and we really don't want to find out today. Not good. We don't want to. And so yesterday, this actually happened. The Senate in the United States voted against finding out where the money is going in Ukraine. They don't want to know. Who cares? Come on, guys. They want to know where your $600 goes. They want financial spying to the max. But money in Ukraine? No. So here's a funny thing, too. Bernie Sanders comes out and has a tweet yesterday, and he goes, somehow we never have enough money for healthcare, education, or housing, but always have enough money for the bloated and wasteful Defense Department that cannot even pass an independent audit. It's time to change our national priorities now. This is Bernie. Okay. Well, what did Bernie do 1 minute later, right? This is 15 hours from that tweet, according to Li Fang. Right. So he came for that vote about transparency in Ukraine. Right. Where's the money going? We don't know. Li Fang says within about 15. First of all, he said laugh out loud. And he's quote tweeting this. Somehow we never have enough money. Bernie Sanders quote. Li Fang writes, LOL. Within 15 hours from this tweet, Bernie Sanders voted against a special inspector general audit of 117 billion in the Ukraine war for money and contractors. So he doesn't want to know about the 117 billion dollars. He'd rather complain. You know, I heard, I'm not sure if this is true. We're going to talk more about the Ukraine vote and all that. But I'm told by pretty reliable sources that because you have these questions, right? When Trump was asking Bernie, tell the truth about the Democrats. They're fleecing you. They're robbing you. You should have won. You've had 2 elections stolen from you, Bernie. Come on. People tell me they had stuff on him. I don't know. Who knows, right? Who knows? But you got to find out why he's such a phony, right? Some people might want to know why he's such a phony. We don't know, but that could be it. All right. So yesterday, the vote did happen. They're not going to find out what happened. They're not going to look into the money. They're not going to look into what's going on with the $117 billion that American taxpayers have sent to Ukraine and the war. And like I said, Time magazine saying, we just got to win it quick. Come on, let's get it over with, right? Spend more money, whatever it takes. So yesterday, Vivek had spaces with Elon Musk and David Sachs. And in the spaces, they covered a bunch of stuff. We're going to talk about a few of the things that Vivek said. But one of the interesting things that he said about the war in Ukraine, and both he and Elon Musk were going back and forth on it and having some, I think, really interesting stuff. What it came down to is this idea of forgiveness and this idea of an exit ramp, right? Because, of course, it's something that we've been saying for a while. If you don't give an exit ramp, if you don't give some face-saving way to get out of this for Putin, for whoever else is involved, it's just going to be about body count, and it probably never end, right? Now, as far as I can tell, there isn't anything left to win in Ukraine. They're just fighting over the same land. It looks like everyone's entrenched. To me, the war's been over for a while, despite the dead bodies that are continuing to pile up. Doesn't look like there's much more to gain or win. It looks like there's kind of a stalemate going on. And so this idea here, and this is what Elon Musk said about it, right? And well, I'll put it in both terms. So this is, Trump's claim to end the war in 24 hours, right? And I think Trump could do that. And what Vivek ended up saying was a little bit different. So they talked about this forgiveness, and this is what Elon Musk says: there has to be some forgiveness, and there has to be some realism, and we have to have a look at Ukraine and Russia by not turning Russia into a devil and Ukraine into an angel. There are no angels in war. The flower of Ukrainian youth is dying in trenches. What are the boys dying for? For what, right? And then he said, we should also be sad that there are Russian boys dying in trenches. Why are these young men dying? Because of disagreements between old men. Why? And entrenched warfare where only a few miles are exchanged. At what price? What is 1 mile worth, right? In terms of life. They talked a bit about this sort of Christian principle of turning the other cheek, and what it could mean to actually bring an end to the war. And it was a pretty interesting frame on it, right? It was a pretty interesting way of talking about it. And I think, indeed, that is probably the only way out of here. A bit of humility, a bit of understanding, but we'll get more to that later. Here's an interesting headline from USA Today. And this is something that David Sachs shared right after the spaces, and it's the following. So you get Time magazine saying, we got to win fast, spend the money. And then you get the Senate saying, no, don't look into the money. Just win fast, spend the money. But then USA Today coming out, and David Sachs is starting to get a sort of punchline all the time. He's doing the wait, what? Right? Where did I get that hat from? Gold 106. You can buy that on Bitcoin Magazine's store. And I think if you go on to the Bitcoin Magazine YouTube, there's a link to buy it. And there's shirts and hats. Weirdly, everyone at Bitcoin Magazine wears this hat now. Everyone's sort of fallen in love with it in the past little while. I think it's a great hat. So here's the headline from USA Today, where he says, Zielinski is in a box. Some experts say Ukraine won't win the war. Updates. So this is just from 2 days ago. And so David Sachs was, wait, what? Because we never heard about this, right? This isn't what we heard about. Time magazine is telling us win quick. So he's in a box. And of course, the simulation winking at us, right? Because Zelensky's in a box, while simultaneously you have Trump caught up in his box story. You know, the boxes hoax, right? What about the boxes? Where did the boxes go? And they indicted the other fellow yesterday or 2 days ago who was managing a leak or water leak or something where the boxes were. So it's all about the box management, right? We still don't know what's in the boxes. We still have no idea what the classified information was, right? No one knows. Nobody has any idea. So Zelensky's in a box, and then you get the Boxgate thing. And so and even just contrasting Boxgate, right, with what's going on with Hunter, for example, and really now I think sort of proof positive about just how crime riddled this family really is and what they've been up to. And weirdly, it's now approaching something that's directly relevant to Bitcoin, directly relevant, which is amazing, which is, again, just proof positive that we're in some form of simulation, because the amount of like stories that keep coming back and connecting to the main narrative, like it's the way you would write a story, like introduce the gun in the first scene and then it comes back, right? Introduce FinCEN violations. FinCEN as a spying technique to make sure no one complains about war or complains about what happened to JFK, or don't ask any questions, right? We were talking yesterday about 1964 and how financial surveillance began in 1964 as a result of the Kennedy assassination and the beginning of the Vietnam War, and how inevitably what we're talking about with Bitcoin it's about 1971. That is a part of it, right? The taking away of the gold-backed nature of the dollar, but it's not just that. The financial surveillance that came before is, to me anyway, truly the main narrative, the main arc we're dealing with here. And weirdly, this is what is just, beautiful. So now that we know more about the Hunter Biden thing, we're getting more details that even though there was proper compliance with FinCEN, we're seeing that they actually don't catch anyone, even when there were reports. So here's what we found out from everything that's going on with the new Hunter Biden thing and all that. So this is from an actual, also Bitcoin-y adjacent congressman named Representative James Comer, saying just yesterday that 6 banks, so he was on the Ted Cruz podcast, so I guess Ted Cruz has his own podcast now. And here's what he's saying, right? So Rep. James Comer says 6 banks, including JP Morgan, Bank of America, this is from Kanekoa the Great, who summarized the podcast, submitted over 170 suspicious activity reports to the Treasury Department regarding the Biden family, alleging their involvement in money laundering, human trafficking, and tax fraud. So this all went to the FinCEN thing. FATF, FinCEN, FinTrack, all these motherfuckers knew. They knew, right? So this is not the same as what we were saying with the FBI knowing everything was correct. This is separate to that. This is not the same that we were talking about the other day, and that we've been talking about for months. The FBI knew the laptop was real. That was another confirmation. This is a completely different one. This is the regime that Bitcoin is forced to fight against every day, and all of us Bitcoiners are forced to consider and argue against and contemplate, what if we get a carve out, what policies, right? And I've been saying for a long time, no, we don't comply with FATF. In the end, inevitably, with FATF and FinCEN and FinTrack, this is a zero-sum game. We beat them or we lose to them. There is no in between. There is no compliant Bitcoin that has a little KYC here and the KYC, the off ramps. Now, I always believe that KYC the on ramps and off ramps were fine for this sort of liminal space of Bitcoin. As we take over, I never minded the fiat on ramps and off ramps having some form of KYC, not in perpetuity and forever, just to help us grow and get through the 2010s, for example. It was the only thing that when I wrote the Senate report back in 2015 in Canada, it was the only thing that I was like, okay, if this gives us all the cover we need, just a bit of on ramps for the fiat stuff, we can live with that, right? That's not a big deal. And I think that's like making Bitcoin tradable as another currency in any country, which is what we wanted. We wanted to just be a bureau de change and a money transmitting licenses. That was all fine, right, at the time. But of course, the end game was to get rid of KYC, and we all understood that was the game we were playing, and that the temporary agreement with KYC on ramps and off ramps was gonna sunset eventually, right? And so here's the case starting to be made for that, right? So what else happened? So the actual FinCEN reports show 170 suspicious activity reports. You know how I got the Senate originally in Canada to get super angry about FinCEN and FinTrack? We almost destroyed FinTrack in Canada before I got into the Bitcoin study. It was because we knew they were never prosecuting people. It wasn't just the Bidens. It was literally everybody. They would make all these reports and no one was getting prosecuted. Nobody. So I got liberals and conservatives angry about that because the regime wasn't working. I can remember in our hearings, liberals saying, so I guess there's no money laundering. I guess you figured it all out. We don't have that problem. You're not prosecuting anyone. You got a regime in place. Must be working, right? If you can't catch criminals, they can't be there, right? But it's a little bit like the argument around the voter fraud in America, right? We didn't find any. We didn't look, but we didn't find any, right? It's the same with money laundering. We didn't find any, but we didn't look, but that's okay. We didn't find any, right? That's fine, right? Because remember, in the in the 2020 election, no one ever looked for fraud, ever. No one has ever looked, really, right? Because how could they? You need to have the firmware, you need to have the machines, you need to have the code base. Did anyone audit the code of the machines? No, right? Was it the firmware? Was it the hardware? Was it the software? Nobody knows. No one knows. And courts can't look at it. The courts aren't capable. They don't know what they're doing, right? They just say, oh, it won't change the result. Done, right? That's when people cite that courts looked at the 2020 election. They did not. They said in each individual case, it wouldn't make a difference. And so we don't have to look at it. If you compounded them all and looked into the software stuff, you'd have a different story. But that was never done and has never been done, right? Just so everyone is aware of that. So let's continue with the FinCEN, FinTrack bullshit. The American banks also raised concerns about wire transfers received by the Bidens from foreign state-owned entities, notably from the Chinese government, allegedly for the purpose of money laundering and tax evasion. The foreign wires were found to be directed towards Biden's business associates before being funneled through 20 shell companies associated with the Bidens. Subsequently, the funds were distributed among various Biden family members. SARs, suspicious activity reports, that's what they're called, are vital documents that financial institutions must file. Now, Kaneko the Great, right? This is a blind spot. They are not vital documents. They're just documents. They don't do shit, right? So vital, if I was editing this, but it's not. It's just Kaneko on Twitter, so that's fine. Vital in the sense that you'll get fined if you don't do it, but that's about it, right? They don't actually look at them, right? Apparently. SARs are vital documents that financial institutions must file with the Financial Crimes Enforcement Network, FinCEN, when they suspect any cases of money laundering or fraudulent activities. Rep. Comer highlighted one specific suspicious activity report linked to a $3 million wire from China to Biden's business partner, Rob Walker. This money was received in an inactive account that had maintained a $50,000 balance for 10 years before the significant wire transaction from China. Within just 24 hours of receiving the wire, Walker initiated incremental payments to several Biden shell companies, eventually dispersing funds to 4 different Biden family members. Comer explained that concealing the source of money through the use of shell companies to deceive the IRS is considered money laundering and racketeering. He noted that if the funds were intended for legitimate purposes, they could have been wired directly to Hunter Biden, but instead they were routed through business partners and various companies with no clear or legitimate purpose. Remember, the Bidens have no service or product that's being sold at all, right? There are 20 companies with no products or services. Nothing. There isn't one, right? There's Hunter Biden Consultancy, right? That's it. That's it, right? How do you light a crack pipe? I mean, you could do that. How do you hire a hooker? I'm sure he knows how. I'm sure he could plan a great party, a great bachelor party or anything. If that was a multi-million-dollar business, I would believe he could, charge those kinds of money. But like weapons, bioweapons, energy, I don't know, Hunter, right? But he's not a bad artist. Let's admit it. He's not a bad artist, right? Not a bad artist. Senator Ted Cruz asked, so the Chinese Communist government was sending the money? Rep. Comer replied, yes. If Hunter Biden was doing something legitimate for China, they could have just wired the money to Hunter Biden, but they didn't, he explained, right? 1 second. They sent it to the company called Robinson Walker. And then they wired it to a company called Owasco. Then they wired it to another company called Bohai. These companies don't do anything with the money. Senator Cruz responded, it's just a bucket to pour the water in, then a bucket to pour the water into somewhere else. Rep. Comer said that's exactly what it is, and it was organized. It is like organized crime. When the corporate media foolishly asks where is the evidence that the Bidens committed crimes, American banks have submitted hundreds of suspicious activity reports on the Biden family, alleging their involvement in human trafficking, money laundering, and tax fraud. Money laundering, human trafficking, right? Congressional investigators have obtained bank account records and wire transfer statements on 20 shell companies owned by the Bidens, which were allegedly used for money laundering, illegally obtained from China, Russia, Ukraine, Romania, and Kazakhstan, right? Look at these countries, like they're totally clean, right? Kazakhstan, Romania, right? This evidence is supported by hundreds of thousands. Romania, the country that put the Tates in jail without charges for like 5 months, right? 5 months or something. The evidence is supported by hundreds of thousands of emails, tens of thousands of text messages, photographs, audio recordings, calendar statements, and 10 years of data from Hunter Biden's laptop, which the FBI took into possession in 2019. Now, you got to remember that if it wasn't for the laptop, none of this stuff would have been possible to analyze, right? So it's amazing still that happened. So did you know the Marco Polo report is also even offering any $1,000 reward if anyone can make verifiable corrections to the laptop dossier that they created, the Marco Polo file, right? So in addition, credible IRS sources and whistleblowers have accused the Justice Department of obstructing the Hunter Biden investigation by blocking felony charges, search warrants, and interviews while preventing any investigation into the president and his family. Furthermore, just yesterday, a judge highlighted the unprecedented lenient deal offered by the Justice Department to Hunter Biden, which would result in no felony charges or jail time for tax fraud or lying on his gun form. The DOJ deal would have also granted protection to the first son from any future prosecution related to illegally obtained money from foreign nations as an unregistered foreign agent. What is more corrosive and destructive to our nation than a politicized Justice Department that applies different legal standards depending on whether one's last name is Trump or Biden? Because, of course, everyone is contrasting this with the boxes hoax. We don't know what's in the boxes. It's a pool guy now that is getting indicted because he like told someone to move boxes or something, right? And Trump told him, and so So you get the boxes hoax, which nobody understands. It's just like a box management thing, like who is in charge of boxes, when, but what's in them, we don't know. Maybe it was national secrets, which is why it's a perfect summer hoax story, because you can do the what if all the time, right? You can do what if, right? It's like, you know when comic book writers, right, try that, right? What if Spider-Man never got bit by the spider and got bit by a radioactive scorpion, right? What if Captain America wasn't a man from America? What if it was a woman from the United Kingdom, right? Oh, what if? So this what if thing is how the hoaxes work. It's what Mueller-Russia collusion was based off of, right? What if someone has a document and Trump could get in trouble because what if they come with the document? And so the thing with the boxes hoax is that it's the perfect summer hoax because it's filled with what ifs, right? What if Trump had secrets in the boxes and he was selling them to a country? What if the secrets were everything that America required to be safe, right? What if? It's all going to be what ifs, right? So you can run a what if scam, a what if hoax all summer and no one's going to ask any questions, right? Meanwhile, with Hunter, you don't have to ask what if. I mean, it's all there, right? So they're going with a what if versus actual stuff, which is in the end perfect. It's perfect, right? If you're a Bitcoiner, if you're out there saying, FinCEN and FinTrack are actual caps on humanity's potential, which is what I think FinCEN and FinTrack are in the end. They're not just terrorism financing. Let's protect people from money laundering. They were never that. They are never supposed to be that. And it's a shame that people still cite them for those reasons when we know no one's getting prosecuted. And that's what makes this story so perfect. That's what makes it perfect, that it's actually bringing the actual regime, the 1964 regime, follow the money, into highlight view, into vivid relief. And because we can see it now, because it is becoming really obvious, because the narrative is forcing Bitcoin stories into the mainstream in this way, that the enemies of Bitcoin. Remember, I've made this presentation many times. Do you know why we got rid of Hong Kong as a democracy or a rule of law place, or how it became part of China again? Well, it was the same thing. It was the same thing. It was FinCEN, FinTrack, that's the Canadian version. They all adhere to the FATF, the foreign blah, 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 out of Paris. It's the same thing. They coordinate all of this financial monitoring globally. Those guys were the ones who Carrie Lam, the CEO of Hong Kong, cited as the reason for which they needed extradition to mainland China, thereby making mainland China law apply to Hong Kong, because with extradition, of course, you're not safe in Hong Kong, right? You're now subject to Chinese law. And the whole thing was based on this law. All of it, right, was extradition for money laundering purposes. It wasn't to do if you murdered someone as a Chinese national in Hong Kong. That's not what they were talking about. They were talking about this. Carrie Lam cited the need to extradite to mainland China because Hong Kong wasn't good enough in money laundering. They weren't good enough. They didn't catch anyone. Oh, we need to go use the Chinese legal system because ours isn't working, right? So that was the point. We got rid of Hong Kong, one of the most amazing cities in the world, one of the most beautiful, dynamic, filled with energy, filled with entrepreneurship, filled with enthusiasm, and tax-free forever. It was a paradise, right? It became an absolute shithole because of what happened. And now I believe Hong Kong can make a comeback in a different way, in a different form. And as we get through this stuff, I think the spirit is still there. But with what's going on, right, it's not there. But now that we have Hunter Biden, and now that we are getting these stories, now that we're bringing the FinCEN story right into the mainstream, it's how we're going to win. And that's why I called today's show, right? That's the theme. If you didn't see, Margot Robbie, right, did one of the most amazing advertisements yesterday in the history of Bitcoin for Bitcoin, right? And accidentally, I think. So Margot Robbie, of course, beautiful actress playing Barbie. And she was in The Big Short. If you remember The Big Short, she's the one where if it gets boring and dry, they had her in a pool, or sorry, in a bath, explaining, what happened. By the way, you can get The Big Short, I think, free right now on YouTube. I think it's free on YouTube right now. I noticed that. So Michael Lewis, who spoke at Bitcoin 2023 in the movie The Big Short, if you haven't seen it, free on YouTube. I think I noticed that the other day. So Margot Robbie playing Barbie, the real life Barbie. It's destroying the box office. It's doing super well. I haven't seen it yet. I hear good things though. I hear it's actually a great movie. So I'm gonna check it out at some point anyway. And in Barbie, in the press around Barbie, she was doing, Margot Robbie with a bunch of other actresses were doing an interview yesterday. And someone asked her, well, how do you know what a Ken is? How do you know how do you tell if someone's a Ken doll, right? Or a Ken person, or a Ken energy? Of course, the actor playing Ken in the film is Ryan Gosling. And so she says, well, how do you know someone's a Ken? Well, they're probably talking about Bitcoin, right? They're probably talking about Bitcoin. Now, Ken in this context is a main player energy thing. And here's the interesting part, right? So here's where I'm going to tie it together. So Ken, of course, main energy character, main character energy. They called it Kenergy in the thing yesterday, right? So all kinds of Bitcoiners picking up on it today, talking about big Ken energy and Bitcoin, and how it's clearly a sign. Well, why would a female, like a sort of an ideal female character who's playing Barbie and is generally regarded as one of the most beautiful women in the world. What she's recognizing already as sort of a good mate is a man talking about Bitcoin, right? Now, why is that? How did we get to this point, right? Well, you can see this as, I think, the reason why. So go back to the Vivek interview yesterday with David Sachs and Elon Musk, and the most amazing part of the interview, right? The funniest part, the part that resonates most with me, is Elon Musk congratulating, right? So he congratulated Vivek for what? For not being an NPC. And he said, "Thank you, Vivek, for not being an NPC." Right? And of course, they were talking about why was he being thanked for not being an NPC, a non-playable character. He said things like, "We got to get Alex Jones back on Twitter," which we would love, right? Isn't Alex Jones the most entertaining person in the world? Alex Jones, an absolute hero of World War III. I think will go down as one of the most cherished American characters in the pantheon of American characters, a true American original. And so you get Vivek talking about bringing him back on, and then in the end you get, as I said, Elon Musk congratulating him for not being an NPC. And he gave an excellent frame, I think, in the interview about what is going on and what America needs to get better, let's say, right? So he came out and said that America is, and the fight that we're in is not between black and white. It's not between gay and straight or Democrat and Republican. It's the Great Reset versus the Great Uprising. It's the managerial class versus the everyday citizen. It's aristocracy versus sovereignty, self-governance versus monarchy, right? Now, I don't agree with all of his binaries here. I don't agree exactly. Like, I don't think monarchy and self-governance is really what we're talking about here. And I don't really think, here's where I'll take a little bit of issue as well. He came out and said that the only way to get America, let me just get the exact quote. I don't know how I went around to get it specifically. I went back to get it, and now, oh, there it is. Yeah. I went back to get it, and now it's not there. God knows what I did with it. 1 second. Jeez Louise. Well, I don't even know where I put it now. Anyway, what he said more or less was, you've got to fill the void. Well, I got to get it exactly because it's like literally my punchline here. Where the heck did I put it? This makes no sense. I literally came back to find it and put it in here to make sure I had it when I was doing this, and now I don't know where it is. Jeez Louise. Okay, there we go. Here it is. So he came out and said in that thing that the spiritual void, right? So the spiritual void that Americans are feeling, there's a spiritual void. And he says he's going to fill it right now with patriotism, family, and faith. So what I will say is this idea of filling with patriotism is a little bit where his binaries about World War III, I think, are off. Now, not exactly. But I'll explain why. And it goes back to, I think, something JFK once said. So it's a shifting version of patriotism. And I think Bitcoin is going to help us understand that. And it actually goes back to one of JFK's most famous lines, right? So what JFK is known for a lot of things, but perhaps his most famous quote is, "Think not what you can do for your country. No, think not what your country can do for you, but what you can do for your country." Right? Sort of a really famous JFK quote, right? "Think not what your country can do for you, but what you can do for your country." Now, that was a fine frame for the 1960s, and that's where a lot of patriotism was incited, where it came from, and where a lot of people drew inspiration, like, what can I do civically for my city, for my country, and all these things. And here's where I think we're going to head, though, in our shifting idea of patriotism. And again, where the Robert Kennedy candidacy becomes so important and so mystically entwined with all of these questions of 1964 and assassinations and what happened, and in particular, this weird role that his uncle held as sort of the last legitimate president. And, well, other than Trump. here's where Kennedy is dealing with right now, and it was strange because this is what we were talking about yesterday. Remember yesterday we were talking about how, because I think Biden is going to get assassinated, right? I don't think it's going to be reported. It's not going to be a gunshot like Kennedy. I think it's going to be they're going to try and sleep and in his White House. I don't think you're going to hear a lot of people reporting on it as an assassination. You will hear some people report it as an assassination, but it's kind of plausible because he's very stupid and he's got a lot of problems in his brain. He's got like low mental faculties right now because he's got the dementia or whatever he's got going on, right? He's decomposing before our eyes. So it's going to be a very believable narrative. But my argument was that Kennedy would get constant attention because he can talk about assassinations with a little more skin in the game or a little more experience, let's say, than most people. And what happened by the time the show was over yesterday was Kennedy came out and said he's like not getting security detail. So he says, since the assassination of my father in 1968, candidates for president are provided Secret Service protection, but not me. Typical turnaround for pro forma protection requests from presidential candidates is 14 days. After 88 days of no response and after several follow-ups by our campaign, the Biden administration just denied our request. Secretary Mayorkas, I have determined that Secret Service protection for Robert Kennedy Jr. is not warranted at this time. Our campaign's request included a 67-page report from the world's leading protection firm detailing unique and well-established security and safety risks aside from commonplace death threats. So, of course, here's the funny thing, right? When Kennedy ran, I'd say like 90% of Americans said, that's dangerous. You're a Kennedy running for president? It doesn't usually end well. Right? It's not a great look for living, right? It doesn't work. Everyone who's ever tried, right? Well, that's not true. I guess Teddy did run once and was terrible, right? The Chappaquiddick brother didn't quite get there. So now there was a community notes added to this saying that Secret Service normally only does it for for presidential candidates 120 days before the general election. Not sure how true that is. So that's what readers said, right? They're saying he's got a whole year before he gets protection, but it's still under their discretion. And for Mayorkas to say, well, I don't really think you need it. I mean, can we think that a guy like Mayorkas is now like operating? I mean, I'm pretty sure at this point, if you did a little FinCEN, FinTrack thing, you'd find some money going to places where it shouldn't, because this looks like a corrupted person. This is not logic. This looks like someone's got either paying him or blackmailing him or doing something. But this makes no sense. The point, though, is that just as I predicted yesterday, any topic around assassination is just a freebie for Kennedy to get in the news. And so it's going to continue that way. But here's where the JFK line about thinking what you can do for your country becomes important. In the end, the job of a government, the job of all of these, why we even have one of these things in the first place, is security, right? Like, that was the original reason why we created these governments, to make sure the walls of the castle were strong, or to make sure that the security of a group of people was well monitored, right? The original militias were to protect the farmers, to protect the people and their jobs and their work and all that stuff. Now, as the civic engagement grew after World War II and all these new things happened, we had a huge bureaucracy, and it's what I've been saying forever, that really the fight of World War III is just turning off the engine of World War II, getting rid of the bureaucrats, getting rid of what governments do for you, and all those things, right? So just changing the formula. And when you see Kennedy now, who can't even get basic security for himself from I guess the strongest country they say that's ever been on the planet, right? He can't even get basic security when everybody knows he's in danger. Everybody knows he's in danger. The first time I met him, I said, how is he, like, he's got one guy, right? He's got one guy Are you kidding me? Now, what's interesting too is when you look at the comments in Twitter when he sells this, it's like all these Bitcoiners like, I'm here. I'll bring my guns. I'll bring my stuff. We'll make a posse. We'll protect you. And I think he's going to be fine. I don't think he's going to get killed. At least I hope not, because if he does, we're in a much darker World War III if this happens. And I just don't think the clown show can get to it, but we'll see. We don't know. Everyone's watching. So the point is, though, that I think you're going to get a new definition of what your country ought to do for you, right? Which is the basics, right? So I think in the end, Robert Kennedy can sort of flip JFK's idea and to bring it back to what Vivek said about patriotism and patriotism being a thing that is going to fill our spiritual void, I guess he was saying. In the end, no. It's not exactly like that. It's not that same form of patriotism. In the end, I do believe it's going to be a patriotism, I guess, but whatever system actually helps support individual peace, because that's what we don't have, right? We definitely lack social peace, but individually, each of us is affected by all this anxiety and stress, and the majority of Americans have no inner peace at all right now, right? At all. Zero. That's just not happening. Now, Bitcoiners are the exception to this rule because we have sort of checked out of a lot of these fights. We're seeing it in a longer arc of history. We're becoming a little less associated with these things. Like I don't get bothered by. I never really did, but like flag burnings or unpatriotic acts, that's not really what bothers me. What bothers me is things like Kennedy not being able to have any security in what is clearly a very dangerous and hostile environment. And basically the most powerful country in the world saying, you're on your own, buddy. Yeah, we get it. Your dad, probably killed by the CIA, and the Secret Service. I don't even know why Kennedy would want the Secret Service, by the way. They actually did kill his dad, right? According to Kennedy, if you listen to Kennedy's own take on how his dad died, he says it was the Secret Service. That's what he says, right? It wasn't. He's forgiven Sirhan, the fake Palestinian something, right? He's gone to meet him in the prison and has forgiven him for what he allegedly did. He doesn't believe it. He believes his father was killed by a CIA or a Secret Service agent, and he knows his name and thinks it's him. So did his dad's friends, right? He only came to that conclusion because his dad's friends talked him into it. He was ready to believe that his uncle was killed by Lee Harvey Oswald and his dad was killed by Sirhan. He believed that, right? Now that was changed. So Kennedy there now can actually bring and articulate this new form of patriotism, which really will be whatever system allows individual freedoms to flourish. And patriotism will be linked to that one single capacity. And that's security is still a part of it, right? But basically, whatever system gives a person individual peace is going to be the one that wins. So whatever system is supporting individuals, a lot like what Vivek is saying, when he's saying patriotism, family, and faith. Family and faith are, of course, personal things. Patriotism also a personal thing. And so this isn't about benefits, which are all going to end, right? All it really will be is come down to the basic principles of what a government ought to do. It's collective security insurance, I guess you could call it. It doesn't even mean you got to give them guns, right? We're not even talking about men with guns here. We're talking about something else totally different. And so when you start to see that Kennedy and Vivek and these guys are in a position now to re-articulate the relationship between government and people and the government's job, we are really getting to a point where we can establish, I think, what the fault lines of World War III are. And from that, you can see why Bitcoiners and talking about, main character energy and being Big Ken energy, why that formula is more or less enough to win World War III and completely change what is going on going forward and get rid of all of these ridiculous criminals, right? So there you go. We got good things happening. We got Trump, I think, doing real well. I don't really worry too much about the boxes, who has the boxes, right? So it looks like, again, I don't think old Joe is going to make it much longer. I think that there's some decisions being made. Hunter's going to fry. He's going to cook after that. And so there you go. All right, let me see some of these quotes. I hate paper straws. We all hate paper straws. They're the worst. Slarty Blartfast says stainless steel straws are the best. I have to thank paper straws for the advent of them. They also double as great pea shooters. They are good pea shooters. My problem with the stainless steel straws is that they're annoying to clean, and I have to clean them, which I don't like either. And I got to carry them with me, which I can't do. I do like some of these places have the on the cold drinks now, just the sippy cup. That I like. That I'm fine with. That's okay. But I like my straws just plain and simple the way they were. Straight up plastic. Right? Ketchup is racist. Companies don't make money on ketchup package. They must have lobbied politicians. Yeah, it could be, Joe. You're not wrong. I heard a lot of nasty things about the number 17. That's the math one. Yeah. War on math. Yeah, that old number 17. What a jerk, right? Good morning, peeps. Good morning, Daniel. Hope you're doing well. CK. Good morning. Hope you're doing good, man. We got to catch up. Good day to all the Bitcoiners. Count Von Count. In disbelief. Yeah, I guess, does this make the Count from Sesame Street some kind of also racist now? Maybe. Pyramid 7. Ended fast. Elect Trump, boom, over. Yeah, I think so. Hey, I would never look, I would be happy with the Trump presidency, that's for sure. But would still like to have these other guys. I think Vivek is actually, becoming more interesting, frankly, on the Republican side. As much as I love Trump, I will always love Trump, and you'll never beat, just the wattage. Like, Vivek doesn't even come close in just total wattage. But remember what I've said many times: Trump is expensive, and it's true about that. He triggers people and makes them crazy. I underestimated I would never ever change backing him in 2015 for the 2016 election. I would never change that. It was magical, right? The whole feeling was good. But I'd rather he becomes eminent, what do they call it? Eminence grise, gray beard. What's the word? The wise elder, I guess you could say. What happens when all the Bitcoin are bought up from exchanges? That won't happen. Jumper, there's always going to be a give and take and a buy and sell, and it's just going to be more and more interests, right? More and more interest, and because they will offer interest, right? That's how they're going to keep their Bitcoin on exchanges. Once you can financialize and rehypothecate. Now, I don't mean fractional reserve. That's another story. Right? Fractional reserve is another story altogether. But exchanges, what will happen here? Well, here's what will happen. Exchanges' number one data point in free banking, anyway, in the old days before fractional reserve banking, how much money a bank had in its reserves, how much it was actually deposited there, was the signal that they would share to get confidence in that bank. That's what was removed from fractional reserve banking. So I've already, when I was with Kraken, that was my main advice: build a data tool that shows how much people have deposited in these non-fractional reserve accounts, and almost like total assets under management or total deposits. They're not under management, but it's the same idea, that signal would be the thing that would bring confidence to a platform, right? So we have 1 million Bitcoin deposited on our exchange, and because of that, we're able to offer X amount of, shitcoin, dollars, US trash tokens as yield for depositing your Bitcoin. So, or it will even be sats, right? So there's there's a way, but basically it brings it back to the actual original word of interest, right? So interest, forget the economic word. It literally just means who's interested, right? Who's interested, right? And you can measure that. And an exchange can say, this is how many people are interested in our exchange, and this is how much interest we can share. So interest payments. So there you go. Hazard pay for U.S. troops in Ukraine has been approved. Troops in Ukraine. This usually happens before America starts adding troops to a war zone. Yeah, I saw that. Yeah. We'll see how many of these things are really just about hiding Biden crime family stuff. I mean, it looks like all of it, right? Yeah, there's the hat. Yeah. No problem, Gold 106. Did Putin pretty much complete his initial objectives? Looks like it, Pyramid 7. Yeah, it looks like it. But we don't know, right? Sounds like a Seinfeld, but what about the boxes? Everything these days is about where are the boxes? What's in the boxes? Yeah, we don't know. We don't know what's in the boxes, Najib. That's the insane part. No one has even told you, like, okay, box hoax is real. If you have something where Trump is like literally selling technology or something, which is not happening, right? It's probably like, here's the battle plan for Iran. And it's like, first, we're going to bomb them with planes, which everyone on the planet knows is going to, like, that's why you have the planes, right? So you can have air superiority first, right? Like it's like military 101. So I imagine it's there. And even the audio recording, you hear him saying that basically in the audio recording, he's saying when he's flashing the documents that he caught the deep state trying to F him as commander in chief. Right. And that's the thing that he wasn't supposed to do in the audio clip. Right. They're trying to say, oh, look, he's admitting to the showing classified documents. Yeah. Classified documents about the deep state superseding his authority. Right. That they don't finish the sentence. Right. That's what he's actually complaining about. Clout Casino. RFK was interviewed by Sean Hannity. Yeah, Sean Hannity's not the smartest. He made Sean sound like a moron. Sean, he is a moron. Sean used a stupid speech like Putin evil, Putin bad because he thinks his audience is retarded. RFK embarrassed him. I didn't watch it for that reason, but I believe RFK would easily run circles around this guy. This is not someone who is capable, or he's capable, but he wears a CIA pin on his jacket, guys. Forget him, right? Mockingbird asset. 100% Mockingbird asset. Soon we'll need KYC for KFC. Shit, have you guys seen these? So here's the thing. Here's the individual liberty, individual freedom contrast. Just look at what's actually happening in China these days with 15-minute cities and social credit stuff. It's unbelievable. Now, it's enticing, right? You can buy a Coca-Cola with your face, right? But not if you're a little sketchy, not if you wondered about something. That ain't gonna happen. Smash the like. Voting machines online with Ukraine when they supposed to be offline. Never mind connected outside. The voting machines. Yeah, you don't have to convince me of the voting machine scam. As I've said it many times, Bitcoiners get it. Like we understand. We don't need to know more. We understand the trade-off: credibility or convenience. You don't get to choose both. There is no option where it's credible and convenient. Bitcoiners, that is the actual scaling debate around Bitcoin. That's it. And it applies to voting systems as well. And so Bitcoiners recognize the stakes, what's at play, what's at stake, right? They understand the game. So that's how we understand the voting thing better. We don't need to know. Like, do I need to know that Ethereum with its weird confirmation mechanisms and no proof of work mining, do I need to know more that they traded credibility for convenience? No, I don't need to know more. I don't need to know the details, right? I know what they did. They chose convenience over credibility, and therefore you have a major shitcoin, right? That's the definition of a shitcoin. You really think Hunter painted it? Maybe. I don't know. I mean, I wouldn't slarty blard fast. Maybe not. But they're okay. He's done enough hard drugs to have some perception of art. I don't know. I wouldn't waste any time hating on Hunter for not really painting the pictures, right? I'm happy to say they look not bad. And I wouldn't pay more than like $50 for any of it, right? Not even $50. Like, I don't think I would even hang them, but I can admit they're not ugly, right? Now I don't think they're great. I think most, like a B+ art student could do it. What he's doing is, I guess, what I'm getting at. A B+ art student. So there are millions of people at his level. So none of it deserves the money. But that's not what art is, right? Art is always the person. It's not about skill. It's nothing to do with that. It's who's doing it, right? I heard they were more surprised what they didn't find on the laptop. Yeah, I don't know. Don't know. All right. Bon matin tous. Where do I sat? Hope you're doing well. I have to do it. K for Candetta. Yeah. Cloud Casino says, she said that. She said that, Cloud Casino. Yeah. I am Ken. Yeah. I am Ken. Yeah. Love it. Love it. So we love her now, right? We love that movie. AJ is a force of nature. Absolutely energetic, humorous, prescient personality. Yeah. CK, I'm not always losing my notes. Okay. One note. Just do one. I do one. Well, what I do is a photo album. I create a photo album out of screenshots that I use. And I don't know how I forgot to put that screenshot in. I probably didn't. It's probably here. I just didn't put it in the right order. Here's another one of his quotes that I did put, though. The real divide isn't between Republicans and Democrats. It's between the managerial class and the citizen, right? So that's sort of what I'm saying about patriotism. Whatever system actually allows individualism to flourish, that is, individuals using Bitcoin in the end, right? That's one of the main definitions of individualism going forward, I think. So there you go. Thinking Biden to go the old pillow stuff. Yeah, I think so. That's what I think. Winsome Hacks, low mental faculties keep you from being murdered. You don't need to assassinate them. They just do what you want anyways. It's the ones. Yeah, but he can't skate anymore, Winsome. So my prediction here is just that he's too compromised and he's too slow to get them out of the trouble they're in. So you need a new hoax. And what I was saying yesterday, it's that they know they can get away with it, right? Once you put something like the aliens thing, what you're really testing is your reach, your capacity to hypnotize. And now when you're there, and now that you're fully confident in your capacity to hypnotize, you're saying, well, this guy doesn't deliver lines that great anymore, right? I'm going to remove him because they're creating their own troubles. I don't know. You're right. Maybe they just brazenly hide it, which is what they're doing so far. I just think they're going to use the pillow move because they don't have staff around. They can take those people away very quickly. That's not hard. That won't be hard. I mean, look, they don't even have cameras in the White House anymore, right? Like they can't catch a Coke user. And I don't ever want them to catch a Coke user, right? But that they lied and said that there's no cameras, right? Yeah. Slarty Bloodfast. That's what I'm saying. I don't think he wants those guys around him. I don't think he needs. I wouldn't take the Secret Service, but it is amazing that they're treating him this way. Yeah, win some hacks. Someone always ends up being the big cheese. Democracy is a release valve deal in which we let them fight peacefully, pass control peacefully. Yeah, hopefully. He needs max security. I don't trust the political establishment. Yeah, neither do I. Does anyone else remember Neil Stephenson's The Diamond Age? The entire book is starting to look like a freaky prophecy. No, I'm going to go look at that, though. I'm a Neil Stephenson fan. Never heard of that book. Yeah, I'll have a look. If the deep state monkeys take out RFK, most likely be an industrial type accident like a plane crash or a grand piano falling on his head. Hope not, though. Yeah, I agree with that. That I agree with. They're going to try and make it look accidental. But again, I think Biden goes first. I think Biden goes first. The current Secret Service, the ones doing the protection of the president, are mostly sheep dipped out of the military bomb squad, and they pull active. Yeah. If you try to use the Secret Service the same way they did with JFK, you would have a whistleblower, active duty personnel. Yeah, I think so. So again, but they did it to his dad, right? They did it to RFK. So there are enough bad apples, I think. Now, I think a lot of them are great heroes. I don't want to make it sound like I believe the whole Secret Service is compromised. It's not. I don't think the majority of them would do what they're told. I think American brainwashing might save a bunch of them in that we're a free country, but maybe not. Maybe not. I did that detail as a U.S. Army guy. Oh, wow, Cloud Casino. They completely restructured the service details since JFK. Well, thanks for the info. I didn't know any of that stuff. I didn't know that stuff. Bitcoin sounds too good to be true, but it's true. Maybe that's why most are not stacking sats. Yeah, but it's you got to see it. I like my straw, like my creamer, non-existent. Yeah, we don't. We go for usually black. I put a little dab of milk into mine. Exchanges will always have sats. Yeah. Yeah, even my boomer parents don't trust him. Yeah, I mean, he's good for content, right? He does a good thing. But Trump, in addition to Secret Service, had his own personal security because of the Kennedy assassination by the SS. Yeah, I believe that. Yeah. I see, whenever you see Trump get out of a car in New York, or wherever he is, and you see how serious these guys are. I mean, they love him. You can tell the people around Trump love him for his security. I don't think he's gonna get knocked off by one of them. We can have all the votes on blockchain. Obviously, the Democrats don't want that because they love cheating more than anything. Hey, Republicans cheat a lot too, man. You can't let the reason why it's not getting solved, right, is not because the Republicans don't have the power to change it. They do. They could do it. They could make that a priority today. It's just different cheating in different states, right? So because the Republicans have created a better cheating system in different states, they don't really want to get talking about that, right? So that's why no one's interested in fixing the vote thing. Nobody, other than Trump and a few others. But again, Trump should just if Trump made one policy, that's it. He could shut his mouth, and I would say he wins if he just said, "I'm going to fix the next election." As far as fix the election system, sorry, not fix the election. I'm going to fix the election systems going forward across the country, because it's obviously the urban elections have been corrupted probably since the 50s, maybe forever. I don't know if we've ever had a legit election in the 50s, but you can tell they're screwed up because Democrats have a uninterrupted reign in American cities of 80 years, and they're done. Like, American cities are shitholes now. And that shows there's something wrong with the feedback loop, that basically organized crime it's an easy scale for them to run municipal elections. I know, because Montreal had a huge problem because the concrete started to fall apart here in the aughts, in the early 2000s. A little kid died, a overpass chunk fell out. And so they did a huge inquiry onto the corruption in municipal politics. And it was, I'd say, one of the biggest public inquiries in the history of Quebec. The rest of the world didn't pay attention, but it was like gripping in Quebec. That's all they thought about. All they talked about was hearings all day, every day. They were arrested mayors. Sitting mayors got arrested. I think cleaned it up, not by eliminating the mafia, but basically by saying, whatever happened, the mafia have to use better concrete, I think is what happened in the end. And now Montreal is looking great. All the new infrastructure, things are getting built at a clip you've never seen. I've never seen Montreal grow this quickly. New trains, new subways. I was saying already about 10 years ago, I couldn't wait to move back to Montreal once all the construction was over, and what I had already seen as the wake of the inquiry on municipal corruption. But what I understood by watching the Montreal case because I've always loved Montreal. I think of myself, all these stupid Canadians that used to travel around the world with their dumb Canadian flags on their backpack. These people. I used to always put a Montreal flag. Fuck them, right? I don't want Canadian flags, stupid shit. I'm a Montrealer. I was a Montreal separatist way before I was a Quebec separatist. I've been a Montreal separatist forever, like a Montreal city state. I've been wanting to make Montreal a city state since the 90s. I had enough of Canada already in the stupid referendums we had in the 90s. So I've been a Montreal city-state guy for a long time. Like, all right, well, if Canada's separatable, so is Quebec, and I'm done with it, right? We'll just make a city-state, and we'll be fine. I've modified in that I'm happy enough with Quebec separation at this point, and a retooling of all constitutional blah 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 blah. I think Quebec will be a great place. I think all of Canada will be better off broken up, right? It's one of those divorces that should just happen. Not a good situation here, right? The deal doesn't work for anyone. Canada is the dumbest country that ever existed. It's a very stupid place. Very, very stupid. It could get fixed, I guess. I don't really care. Hunter selling his paintings is akin to politicians selling him a little, unless their book was selling for $500,000. If you could do $500,000, it is just money laundering. Absolutely, it's just money laundering. But at least with books, I see what you mean. Yeah, they get millions of book sales because, I see what you mean. Yeah. And Slarty Blardfaz, never thought I would be watching a Barbie movie. Now I guess I have to. Yeah. Isn't it amazing? Isn't it amazing that we're that's what she said, that it is big Ken energy is to talk about Bitcoin. That's how you can recognize a main player character, which is perfect. It's perfect. It's the best marketing you can get. The current it girl saying that the alpha males that she recognizes as these people are, you can tell because they talk about Bitcoin. It's perfect. It's perfect. Yeah. If you want to know what the Secret Service will do, just look at Rome. Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, I agree. By all appearances, USA, if operating on a COG government from JFK until this very day, America been paper clipped. Absolutely. Yeah. All right, team. I'm out of here. I hope you all have a great day. And I don't think I'll see you tomorrow, but I shall see you Monday morning. And enjoy your weekend, everyone. Hope you have a good one. Peace.